Adaptation. My name is Dan.
And my name is Michael.
And we are Dungeons and Dragons DMs who love to homebrew items and spells and creatures and features for Dungeons and Dragons. And this is a show where we make brand new homebrew every single episode based on prompts that we get from our listeners. And today it's your favorite nature podcast because we're diving into the weird and wild side of nature, as we were asked to make druids that center around something kind of crazy and
creepy, spooky, gross,
or just
scary.
Yeah, or just like I don't know. There's so many things that are like you don't really think about it, and then you find out that like, oh yeah, this is the way that we do our lives. This is how we've evolved to handle all of the situations in life. But some things have evolved entirely different ways of just existing that are totally crazy. I mean, octopuses having like one brain in each of their limbs,
that's wild,
is crazy to me. Like single-celled organisms
nature
that can survive in a vacuum, or single-celled organisms that can like grow to the size of like a regular like slime molds are a single cell, which is crazy. There's just so much insane stuff out there in nature, and we were tasked with capturing some piece of that in our druids, because druids so often are just the sort of surface level of nature, and we don't always get to see druids getting into the nitty-gritty weird nature pieces.
Oftentimes the heavy lifting is left to the players themselves to figure out how to adapt the published subclasses into something more niche if they want it to be. I would never say that the druid is the optimal starting class if you're just getting into the game. I don't think that is true, but from a narrative standpoint, maybe it is, because you're right. It is very baseline for a lot of the subclasses. Some of the exterior ones, the wildfire druid is very thematic. Circle of the Spores druid is very thematic. Yes. Those both give a lot of flavor right out of the gate. But the other ones, while still very cool, I've played many druids and enjoyed my time with the class. But the Circle of the Moon druid is your wild shape druid. Circle of the Shepherd is your summoning druid. Circle of the Stars is your finesse kind of battlefield controlling druid. And so it's kind of slotted into these boxes that other classes kind of have flavorful ways of doing, and it doesn't really dive too deep into, because nature is so vast, right? There's so many aspects of nature. The druid subclasses that are published, that are universally known, tend to not explore the minutia of nature. They just say, these are your things, go do nature stuff with them. Just go be a nature character.
Yeah, and I think the closest we get to something that I think captures some of the like, I don't know, some of the like darker or weirder side of nature is probably the Circle of Spores, which has not been
for sure
adapted to 2024 yet.
Not yet.
And it kind of needs to, because
I love it. It's such a good subclass.
It's so good. And Druid was one of the ones back in the day that got its circle at second level. And they've moved everything to third. So you really do need to like make some adjustments to the actual subclass when you're porting it to 2024. You can't really just put it on to the existing level markers quite as easily, although I guess the future level markers are the same, but I don't know, it's a little fiddly. I feel like those were so many of the ideas that I was having was around like behaviors of large groups of animals, which I think are all really fascinating. The way that like ant colonies function. But like, how do you port that into a thing that's like, are you the colony Are you the leader of your group and your group is the colony? Like, how do you do that? And I think honestly,
How are you Pied Pipering all these animals?
yeah,
Yeah.
and I think your creation of the is it a druid that we made that you had that could like communicate over longer distances, like fungal networks and things like that. Was that a druid
It
or was
was a
that a
druid.
sorcerer?
It was
Okay,
a druid.
I
Yeah,
couldn't
it
remember
was.
if
It
that was a
was the
sorcerer.
technology druid. Yeah,
Yeah,
it
I
was
thought that was
the
a
fiber optic
really yeah.
fungal
I,
system. Yeah,
that was a really cool version of I think another like weird nature thing that's like yeah let's get into like the weird
yeah, yeah.
thing of like root systems communicating or like colonies of creatures communicating over like long distances through like yeah electrical or like pheromone networks
Mm-hmm.
instead of like vocal communities. I thought it was cool.
Thank you.
I had some other ideas here that I really wanted to try and dig into, but it was maybe a little more than I was comfortable putting something together with. Uh, but I'll tell you right off the bat, my first thought was to go for one of the strangest creatures that I'm aware of in the tardigrade, which is a thing that can just survive anything.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Is like, I mean, they are like almost as small as a single cell. They are capable of like changing the structure of their cell network within their body so that it like hyper compresses and allows them to survive in a vacuum in like space deep underwater without access to food sources for extended periods of time with no access to moisture for extended periods of time. Like it's crazy. So just like the concept of that level of survivability was really intriguing to me, especially if I was able to like combine it into something almost astral, sort of spelljammery. But
Ooh. Yeah.
I had a hard time making it work, so I decided to go back to something that I think is a little more basic, but I think is no less fun for a player to mess around with.
That's cool. There are so many options here. I feel like I went through at least 10 or 15 really basic ideas before I landed on the one that I went with. I mean, spoiled for choice is not the right word because I felt overwhelmed most of the time because it's just so much. But I'm glad that I did get to where I was going eventually.
Yeah, I know that there are some other attempts at kind of making some creepy weirdo druid stuff
Mm-hmm.
in partnered content for the old druid and some for the new. The Circle of the Blighted was
Mm-hmm.
a critical role
Mm-hmm.
creation, which was interesting, I think. Circle of the Hive is interesting. It's a little more insect focused. Like it is kind of
Mm-hmm.
the swarm keeper, but of the druid. Um, I, of course, didn't want to crowd too much into those spaces that I think have been well trod already.
Right.
You know, I think there's definitely room for more of that in the official and especially in the 2024 context as well. Uh, to lean back into the nature of it all, the like fascinating piece of that I think a lot of players want to play with and don't always have as much of the option to. Because if you look at what's in 2024 so far, you've got the Circle of the Land, which to me is just so incredibly lackluster.
Even less luster than it had in 2014.
Kind of, yeah. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's the thing is that like it has these 4 different like land types that you can choose a sort of affinity for, but nothing really in the class captures the essence of those places.
Yeah.
If you ever watch a documentary or a Planet Earth on like the actual life or the things that exist within desert areas or savanna or anything else like that, these like hyper arid plains, like it's fascinating and you want something that'll capture that. So that the
Yes.
Circle of the Land doesn't really do that. The Circle of the Moon is, like you say, it's the wild shape druid.
Yeah,
Circle of the
it's
Sea,
fine.
which is a newer one, is fine, but it's really just storm more than it
Yeah.
is ocean life, which I think ocean life is so cool and so broad and vast. Circle of the Stars, like you say, is like more around precision play and some degree of navigation and that sort of thing, but
Mm-hmm.
is more astral, celestial kind of vibes. And then there's a couple of other ones. Circle of the Old Ways feels very sort of witchy, or like they're bringing in pagan practices and things like that. And Circle of the Wicker has a similar vibe to that. Also bringing in some of that, like, kind of uh, strange practices of things nearing witchcraft and things like that, which is cool to be fair, but doesn't feel as tied to nature in a way that it feels like
Right.
we need some nature subclasses.
Right. Give me some true nature. Again, it's hard to truly give nature vibes without getting too specific,
Yeah,
and that's not really what published content
it's true. Yeah.
is about.
Very
I
true.
wish it was. I wish it, like, that's the stuff for me. That's the stuff that I want to play. But to a more casual base of gamers, maybe not. Maybe you want something more easy on the palate.
Yeah, and I think you do,
Unfortunately.
that's where you go to homebrew or third party content for,
Right.
is the
Right.
hyper specific things that are really capturing things. But I would be down to put this prompt back in the hopper, because I feel like, or
It's
something
so
similar to it
vast.
that's just like, uh, uh, more specific druids. And I'm specifically thinking about, like, the land druid needs some justice done to it, uh,
Yeah.
or it needs to be split out into 4 separate druids or
I was going to
something.
say, I think the Circle of Land just doesn't need to exist. I think
Yeah.
it's too much ground to cover across 4 to 5 features. It's so much. To reduce the types of land to which spells you have and one
Mhm.
resistance is wild. It's crazy.
Yeah, and the this isn't a like deep dive into the subclass, but like your primary other feature is, you can use your wild shape to create a sphere of healing and harming area, which isn't really tied to any of the features of the land choice that you made. Natural recovery is also not tied to the land choice you made, but it is sort of
Right.
easy to understand, easy to approach. Yeah, you get your resistance at level 10, which is quite late.
Too high. Too high for a
Yeah,
resistance.
way late to be
for
getting a
for one
resistance.
resistance. Yeah.
One resistance to a pretty basic damage type.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
and then, yeah, Nature Sanctuary is, again, not tied to your land choice. It is simply yep, nature like grows around you in a cube to defend you.
Nature happens. Yeah. You're in nature and it's happening around you.
Protects you, and that's that. So I don't know. It needs some justice, because, like, if
That's
you're,
just the circle of the
yeah,
safeguard. Circle of nature helping you survive.
if you're going in and you're like, ooh, I want to play like a druid of like snow and ice, and you look at the Circle to Land and the Polar Land breakdown, it's so underwhelming. It's so, like,
Right.
not at all what you want to do. So they all just need a little bit of a fix.
I agree.
Maybe we should do that at some point.
Maybe we should.
We'll add that to
Bonus
the
content
prompts
somewhere
list or
along the
something.
line.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Fixing the circle of the land or splitting out the circle of the land. Yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Well, I think it's high time to get onto our creations. We've talked enough about the parts of the druid that aren't specific enough
Sure,
for
sure.
us. Why don't we talk about some more specific things that we've created for today? If you would please, Dan, could you go first?
Indeed. So, like I said, I had quite a few ideas around more like super specific, weird creatures and things like that, but I had a hard time making it feel like it was complete enough with the limited knowledge set that I have. I can only watch so many YouTube videos in
Yeah.
between these episodes. So I decided to go with a slightly more generalized, but I think still something that captures something really fascinating in nature, and is specifically the ways that we see adaptation manifesting through various different types of creatures and various different biomes and things like that in
Mm.
ways that seem
Mhm.
so foreign and strange to us because because we have such relatively long generations and since we also have only had so much time on this planet as our own species,
Mhm.
whereas many other species have had a long time to adapt to change and to turn into the versions of themselves that we see now. I give you here the circle of adaptation.
Nice.
Survival of the fittest is the law of the jungle. And in order to carry on your legacy, you must adapt and learn to change to suit your environment. For many creatures, this evolution takes place over generations, each ancestor building on the defenses of the ones who came before. Animals mimic other creatures' patterning to trick predators or to gain access to food sources. Some creatures develop defensive spines or poison secretions so that even if they don't survive, their offspring will be less welcome prey. As a student of this cycle, you have observed and learned the ways to change your forms to suit the occasion and protect yourself and your allies from those that would do them harm. Uh, so this is more specifically on the adaptations of mimicry and that sort of almost a version of illusion that creatures
Yeah.
in the wild do. This takes so many different forms that it was hard to pick out a single version. Uh,
Sure.
but you see that there is the poisonous snake that has the bands of red and yellow and black. And there is a snake that is not poisonous that has bands of red and yellow and black in a very slightly different orientation, but enough that predators who would try and eat that snake but have potentially been poisoned by it in generations past don't eat that snake now. So this snake is
Right.
mimicking a poisonous snake, even though it is not poisonous, which is a great way to survive. There are also things, like just blending into your surroundings. There are things like, pretend plants that grow leaves with little spots on them, which trick the insects that would lay their eggs on those, that there are other insects who have already laid their eggs on that space. And so they don't want their offspring to be fighting for competition. So they don't lay their eggs there. And they don't eat that plant. So these kinds of things I think are just so fascinating and cool and weird. And I tried to add some of that vibe to my druid here.
Lovely.
Yeah, so at third level, you gain your circle of adaptation spells. When you reach druid level specified in a circle of adaptation spells table, you thereafter always have this listed spells prepared. Easy enough. You get alter
Mhm.
self, disguise self, expeditious retreat, mirror image. Those are all just additional ways of disguise or slightly changing your form. Feign death, hypnotic pattern, confusion, hallucinatory terrain, mislead, and seeming.
Beautiful.
All very like illusory kind of vibe spells that druids don't usually get access to. Some of them they do, but some of them aren't often going to be found in the typical druid's loadout kit. And so some access to some of these like kind of trickery, misleading spells I think was very fun there. You also get at third level the primary feature of this, which is the variable forms. So when you use your wild shape, you can choose one additional adaptation for your new form from the choices below. So there are 4 additional adaptations that you can add to your wild shape form so that you can survive a little bit longer, so that you can, be a little bit better off than a regular version of the animal that you turn into. So you can get barbs. Your body sprouts sharp points, and when a creature within 5 feet of you targets you with a melee weapon or spell attack, it takes 1d8 piercing damage. That's on a hit or miss. This amount increases to 2d8 when you reach 10th level in this class. You can also choose camouflage. You blend into your surroundings, giving you the ability to hide as a bonus action, even if your form does not permit it. And you can gain a +5 bonus to your stealth checks. You can get toxicity, so your skin excretes a powerful toxin. When you are hit with a weapon or spell attack, all creatures within 5 feet of you must make con saves or become poisoned and take some poison damage equal to your wisdom modifier. Or you can gain warning marks. Your skin or hide bears vibrant colors and patterns, and creatures that can see you have disadvantage on attack rolls against creatures other than you. So you're making yourself a bold, vibrant target so that your friends will be a little more well defended. So that's your primary thing. Whenever you go into wild shape, you can add one of these to your existing wild shape. At 6th level, you get a little bit more of a permanent thing. So you choose one of the following adaptations, and this adaptation is permanently added to all of your known forms. So every form that you have that you know and can turn into now gains an additional bonus. They can either have dark vision to a range of 300 feet, increased speed, that's a movement speed increase of 10 feet to whatever kind of movement speed they have. So if they've got multiple, if they've got a swim and a walk speed, you can up both of those by 10 feet. You can get a specialized speed. So you can gain a swimming or climbing speed equal to your base movement speed in any form. So that might be a little bit weird if you're choosing an aquatic animal and give it a climbing speed, but you can do it. It's like an octopus. You just gain some tentacles that can latch on and climb up things.
Right.
Or you can get a thickened hide. Your armor class increases by 2. Whenever you gain a level in this class, you can choose to replace your evolved form with a different option.
Nice.
So anytime you gain a level, but whichever one you choose, all of your known forms now have dark vision or increased speed or swimming or climbing speed or a thickened hide. Just allowing a little bit of additional boost to your forms. At level 10, you can choose 2 of the adaptations from your 3rd level variable forms feature. So you could have barbs and toxic skin, or barbs and camouflage. And at 14th level, you gain the missing link feature. So while you are in beast form, you gain additional features. You can cast spells at a level equal to or less than half your proficiency bonus. So 2nd level at 14th level spells, or 3rd level is the highest you can go, and that's at 17th level and above, I believe. You can cast 3rd level spells while in beast form, and you can use a bonus action while you are in your beast form to change your variable form adaptation. Just kind of like you are somewhere between human and animal at that point. So I think a player could have a lot of fun just messing around with these and messing with the combinations. And mostly I think the spell list is what I think could create some real interesting options for this class.
Yeah, it truly is about the combination. I'm thinking by level 10, I would be choosing barbs and warning marks at all times.
Yeah.
Or toxicity and warning marks at all times. Come over and attack me. I'm going to tank, and you can hit me and get hurt in return.
Yep.
Every hit, every turn, every round. Yeah, this is cool. I do agree. Yeah, it is more of a... We were talking a little bit off mic, how you felt that it wasn't as specific as you first set out to be, as far as wild or kind of off the beaten path. But it is extremely functional. I think that level 14 is a good idea. Having spellcasting in beast form 4 levels earlier than you would normally as a druid is super strong. And even though it has that limiter on it, having spellcasting as like a mouse or something is pretty cool. Like being able to hide or camouflage yourself or whatever the case may be. Again, it goes back to how you put all these pieces together and stack the combinations in different ways. So yeah, this is really interesting.
Yeah, I think I hemmed and hawed a little bit on the spellcasting as a 14th level feature. because of the crossover that you get it 4 levels later, and so you really
Yeah,
only benefit for those 4 levels, and yeah, the limiter of spell level. Uh, I think it's possible that I could come up with something better for this, but I also didn't want to make another list of optional things
right.
because we already have two
Yeah,
of those. And I also
yeah,
didn't want to add like and now you can have another one. I think the thing that I was really envisioning there is that like I think it would be cool to cast specifically these like spells on this spell list while in your uh your beast form,
for sure.
especially things like mislead in your beast form could be really interesting if you have the option to do that, and also have these other adaptations, like you know, increased speed and also camouflage suddenly becomes a really interesting combination with some of these other things. But I might be able to find out something that's maybe a little more finely tuned for that one, just because it does cross over with an existing base class feature. But for now, you know,
Hey man, those are important mid game levels. That
it's true.
if you have spellcasting when you wouldn't have otherwise, it could be a game changer. So
True.
a little crossover might be worth it. It might be worth it for some extra spellcasting.
Oh yeah, and I guess the limiter wouldn't even allow you to cast mislead. I just realized that. So yeah, it would be mostly the lower level ones, but those would still be
Yeah,
good. Alter Self, obviously, Expeditioner's Retreat could be interesting. Mirror Image, great
yeah,
on a beast form. But
yeah.
again, you can, we'll see. I'll probably go over it again and try and come up with something that's a little more in line with the fantasy here. But yeah, we'll see.
We will indeed.
Yeah. So, Michael, what about yours? What did you come up with for the wacky and wild nature?
You went a bit more broad. I went hyper specific. About 90% of campaigns have no use for the subclass that I
Okay,
made.
great.
Um, but you did mention the impetus for my idea earlier when you were running through the current 2024 Druid subclasses. Specifically, the Circle of the Sea
Mm,
should absolutely be Circle of Storms
yeah.
or Circle of the Weather. If you have more than one lightning and thunder damage feature in your subclass, you can't be the Circle of the Sea.
I would agree.
In my opinion, and I think the Circle of the Sea. I had a druid in my home game for a long time. Play a Circle of the Land, 2014 Circle of the Land druid, and when the version updated a year and a half ago, he decided to switch to the Circle of the Sea. He was playing a half
Mm,
sea elf,
hmm.
and he's like, "This makes a lot more sense for what I want to do," and he loved it. It was thematically appropriate for what he wanted to do. It was really cool having like that storm emanation
Yeah.
that pushes people around the battlefield and additional damage and all of that stuff. All well and good. Nothing to do with the sea. Nothing to do with
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
sea. So I wanted to right that wrong and make an actual Circle of the Sea. I call this the Circle of the Deep.
I like it.
This subclass should only be used if like 75 to 90% of your campaign is played in or underwater. Uh, so if
Yeah.
you're doing
Sure.
like Ghosts of Saltmarsh,
Yeah.
use
Yeah.
this. If you're doing like an Atlantis type of setting, use this. So I think that there are use cases for it, just not most of the time.
Yeah. That's fair.
Very,
That's
very
fair.
specific.
Yeah. I mean, it's not as though the circle of the circle of the sea as it exists is not cool, but it does feel like a misnomer for sure. And I'm not sure,
Right.
just as a side note, how did that happen? How did we, because this isn't just the druid, right? This is like any any sort of piece of the lore that interacts with mechanics in the game. If it's like involved with the sea, the ocean, maritime stuff, like almost always it will be lightning and thunder damage,
Yeah.
will be built into the thing. Why did we, what happened,
I
how
don't
did we get
know.
there?
I don't know. The Tempest Cleric is the same way.
Yeah. I mean, well, Tempest
It,
makes sense because Tempest is a storm.
yeah.
But, like, there's a vibe to it that's like,
Anyway, this is my take on it.
Give it to me.
For the Druids specifically. You are one with the undercurrents, reveling in the silence and seclusion of the sea floor. As the noise and distraction of the surface dampens, you listen to the echoes of the anemones and the cephalopods whose husks telegraph ancient stories. Creatures that have lived for centuries without the guidance of sunlight, the warmth of a summer breeze, or the security of built shelter allow your coexistence. You swim and live and survive among them, learning from their habits and from their secrets. At level 3, you gain one feature and some spells. The feature is called Unfamiliar Form. The perplexing magic of the depths expands your capabilities in the following ways. You have a swim speed equal to your walking speed, and you can breathe both air and water. Also, you are immune to the effects of deep water, extreme cold, and frigid water. Those are hazards in the Dungeon Master's Guide. Deep water is basically pressure. Creatures that are not. I don't usually go over my one rule. Every time I make something for this show, I give myself one rule to apply some strictures to what I make. My one rule this week was to not mention cold damage at all. I feel like that is a cop-out.
Sure.
Anytime water is mentioned, anytime the sea, it's one of those things. Lightning, thunder damage, cold damage. So I didn't want to include cold damage resistance here.
Okay.
But creatures that are resistant to cold damage are also immune to all of these effects. Basically, you can survive at the bottom of the ocean where it's very cold, just unlivable circumstances. But you, as a Circle of the Depths druid, or a Circle of the Deep druid, don't have to worry about any of that. So you are not exhausted by the pressure. You are immune to the cold of the very deep water, so on and so forth. Also, when selecting known wild shape forms, elementals, fae, and monstrosities can be chosen, as long as the creature has a swim speed. If a creature's stat block meets these requirements and also includes a weapon attack, that attack does not apply to you.
Sure.
So, elementals, fae, and monstrosities. Honestly, when I started thinking about this, I thought that pool would be bigger. It is not. Only a couple of them. Only a handful. I think less than a page.
Interesting.
On D&D Beyond. At least from the...
I
thought
so too. Be larger.
A lot of elementals, fae, and monstrosities with swim speeds exist at higher challenge ratings.
Sure, yeah.
But what's the challenge ratings of maximum? 0 and 1? Only a limited amount of things, but it does give you a little bit more flexibility than just beasts.
Interesting.
Yeah. Also at level 3, your spells, you know the Dancing Lights cantrip, and when you cast it underwater, you can choose to make one 5-foot radius sphere of light instead of 4 individual lights. Also, you get the following spells. Some spell crossover this week. I chose a couple of the spells that you also chose.
Oh, interesting.
At 3rd level, you pick up Arms of Hadar, Protection from Evil and Good, Darkness, and Mirror Image, just like Dan. At 5th level, Hypnotic Pattern, just like Dan, and Meld into Stone. At 7th level, Backlash, which is a very cool little 4th level spell from Heroes of Faerun. It's a reaction spell that deals force damage back to your attackers. And Control Water. And at 9th level, Hold Monster, and, just like Dan, Mislead.
Interesting.
Yeah, so this is all about hiding, diverting attention, confounding, and confusing. You are down in the depths of the ocean, and you are popping your head out to either attack with a tentacle or divert attention over there with your hypnotic pattern, or create multiple versions of yourself with mirror image. It's all about misleading these, intruders, essentially. At level 6, we have the Countershade ability. Countershading is a real thing. It's a thing that a lot of aquatic beings have as part of their anatomy. It basically means that the tops of their bodies are darker in color and the bottoms of their bodies are lighter in
Yeah.
color. So level 6, you gain the counter shade feature. While you are underwater, you make all dexterity stealth checks at advantage, and any check made by another creature to see or find you is made at disadvantage. Additionally, if you are submerged in water and stationary, you have the invisible condition if viewed from above the water's surface. This does not apply to creatures with true sight or blind sight.
I like that.
So if somebody's flying over the surface of the ocean, they do not see you as long as you're not moving.
It's like that shark thing where their
Yeah.
bellies are light colored. So if you're looking up and there's the light, sunlight over the water, you can't see them as well.
It's all an illusion. Yeah, it's all an illusion. At level 10, you gain the undertow feature. While underwater, this is something that like seafloor creatures will do. They will wait underneath. Like there are creatures that can like manipulate the current under the water and like pull other creatures downward, which is so scary.
Yeah.
So this is the undertow feature. While underwater, if you pass directly beneath a large-sized or smaller creature that you can see, you can use a reaction to force a strength save. On a failed save, the creature is pulled downward a number of feet of your choice, no more than 5 times your wisdom modifier. You can't use this feature to pull a creature deeper than your location. So if you're just 5 or 10 feet below, you just pull them down to your level. So you can't push anything below you, but you can pull other creatures further down if they're trying to escape to the surface or something like that. You could say, no, come back down here. And at level 14, you gain the schooling feature. This is based on the schooling of fish or other small sea creatures that group together to make large, intimidating visuals for possible predators. While using your wild shape feature underwater, you can conjure a huge-sized swarm of tiny elementals around and resembling your known form. When you use this feature, the temporary hit points gained upon shapeshifting are tripled. Until your additional temporary hit points are depleted, your movement does not provoke opportunity attacks. You can't be restrained, grappled, or targeted by touch spells. You make all perception and intimidation checks at advantage, and your armor class increases by half of your wisdom modifier rounded down. And that is only in effect until the temp HP reduces to where it normally would be. So like the top 2/3 of that extended temp HP pool, once that's gone, you basically are in wild shape form without the swarm around you.
Interesting.
So the swarm kind of depletes as it goes, and then once you get down to your normal amount of temporary hit points that you would get upon wild shape, the swarm is gone and you lose all of these extra benefits.
Gotcha.
This feature, once it's used, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest. Once per long rest, you make this giant thing almost like an emanation. It acts almost like an emanation, but it's more of a swarm than anything else. But that's it. That is the Circle of the Deep.
It's fun. I mean, oh gosh, yeah. Definitely needed to be more like this if we're dealing with Circle of the Sea. Yeah, things like, just leaning into the like crazy biome of underwater is so much more satisfying, I think. There's so much weird stuff down in the water.
So much weird stuff. Like truly terrifying stuff.
Yes.
And again, I think similar to yours, it may be up to the player to kind of slot this into situations where they're needed. The dancing lights being a 5-foot radius sphere of light. I was thinking like an anglerfish. You just drop it like 20 feet away from you and wait for, other creatures to swim toward it, and then you grab it. Like that's terrifying to me. Being somewhere in the total darkness and you see one little bead of light and you're like, yes, sanctuary, and then you get attacked from the shadows. That's
so good.
Crazy.
It's perfect. I like the schooling feature. I wonder if you need to have the stipulation about the additional temporary hit points, or if you could just put it at regular when you lose the temporary hit points. you
I
go
wondered
back.
that. It is a bit needlessly complex. I was trying to go for like this is like a bubble of elementals
Yeah.
around your wild shape, and then
Yeah.
once it's gone, you're still in wild shape. But I agree that maybe you should just once per long rest. Maybe you should just have it the whole time.
Yeah, I think that's
As I kept
okay
reading through it,
cuz
yeah,
I mean theoretically what you're at 14th level, you get 14 times 3 temporary hit points when you use this feature, which is significantly more than you would normally get.
right.
It's 30, no, 42?
42, yeah, 42.
42. That's a lot of hits. And if we're just saying, well, when you take 28 of those, then you go down to this other form. I don't know. I feel like you could probably get away with just doing straight up when you have the temporary hit points because I think it's implied in the regular wild shape rules that you are in wild shape regardless of whether you still have temporary hit points or not.
Mm-hmm.
And if you worry that it's like the tripling is too much then for that, you could just double it and
I don't think it's too.
get away with that.
Yeah,
But yeah.
I don't know. I think that I was trying to. I got into kind of that pattern of thought that I couldn't quite escape
Sure,
until
yeah.
I started to like get away from it and read it back. I agree. Probably too complex. Probably too complex.
I
So
think it would just
probably
be a little
will
bit
fix
annoying
that.
to track on a player side of like
Yes.
what is the actual
Yes.
number,
Yeah.
which I guess is just your druid level. So,
Right.
some people would intuit that, and I think just know that right off the bat. But I think easy enough to just shift it, and I don't think it breaks anything to do that personally.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's fun. Definitely got that freaky, let's drown some people thing going on with the level 10 feature. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I can imagine this being a very, very interesting player character who's just really, there is a level of horror that is built into this for sure.
Yes.
Like you
Yes.
function best when you are silent and very deadly and attacking people from below that
Right.
you can see, who are either higher up in the water or out of the water, and dragging them down to your level where you can function perfectly fine and they cannot.
Correct.
So yeah, it's freaky. It's very freaky.
Well, that's good. That's exactly what I was going for.
Just put them into darkness, hit them with some arms of Hadar, pull them around in the deep dark. Ugh, horrifying.
Yeah. And then become a huge creature. A huge swarm creature and intimidate them. Yeah, man.
That would be fun. But I like this, and much more satisfying as a sea-based druid than the druid of the sea is for me into my mind. So I like it.
Undercut by the relative ability to use it in a standard campaign, I believe.
But a really cool playstyle for druid, right? I think that it is not often that you have a druid who, like, the playstyle really implied by this is very much almost roguish, right? It has that level of like hide, deceive,
deceive, confound, distract.
Yeah, like you're doing all
and
of
then
this,
attack.
Like, you're doing all of this like sort of almost sneaky fighting or like underhanded tactics almost that it kind of demands from the player, and that's not often the druid typical play style. Right. Often druid is much more support, healing, some AoE damage, some other things, but I think it's a very fun play style for a druid.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I like it a lot.
Dig it.
Well, next episode, we already have a prompt rolled. We are welcoming another guest onto the College of Creation next week. Our friend Tegan, who runs a few podcasts of her own, as well as running several cool things for her home tables and things of that nature. We will have her on with us next week. We are going to be making non-humanoid playable species. Non-humanoid playable species, which is really cool. And it doesn't happen enough. It happens a lot more in the 2024 rules than the old game. The kind of the standard lineup in 2014 was that anything that you played as was loosely considered humanoid, and that is no longer the case. So we are taking that and we are running with it with some non-humanoid playable species. I'm super stoked for this prompt.
Yeah. What are we exactly like putting on the parameters of humanoid and non-humanoid?
See, that's tricky, right? Because there are plenty of species in the game now that are different creature types technically than their monster manual
Right.
creature entries. Like
Right.
centaurs, for instance, are different. I believe Eladrin are different. They're still humanoids, but they're technically
Yes.
fae.
Humanoid slash
In the monster
fae.
man, yeah,
There's there's the Genasi, which always ran that like fine line
elementals.
between humanoid
Yeah,
and
yeah.
elemental.
I think anything that could be considered humanoid, like if a case could be made, don't do that.
Could a case be made for like an undead? So a vampire or
Undead,
something like
totally,
that.
totally fair
Is
game. I
that
would say.
close enough to humanoid? I guess is the question because
I would say vampires are distinctly undead. I think. I mean, don't do vampires though, because
no. But conceptually,
Vampires-
just like I'm trying to find the lines here, right? Conceptually,
Yeah,
it
yeah,
was
yeah.
once a human or a humanoid at least, possibly an
That's
elf.
true.
But like
We're
it was
current,
once a humanoid, but now is an undead.
Current biology
where's the line there?
only. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
current existing biology. I think across the board, there is at least one existing version of almost all of the other creature types that is also a playable species, right? Because we've got...
I think aberration might be the odd one out.
No, aberration. You've got mind flayers. Mind flayers have been ported into a playable character, not necessarily in the existing core rule set, but it has been a thing that has been done commonly. Beast, maybe not, actually.
I think Beast
Maybe not.
Sure.
Celestial, you've got your Aasimar. Construct, you have Warforged. Dragon, you have Dragonborn. It's on the line.
Yeah.
Elemental, you have Genasi. Fae, pixies or fairies and things like
Eladrin,
that. Eladrin. Fiends, maybe also. I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
Are Tiefling considered
Tiefling,
fiends?
kind of. I guess, in the same way that Celestial is Aasimar. I don't think they're technically considered fiends, but I also don't think that
derivative
Aasimar
of they have like the fiendish
Celestials.
nature. Yeah.
Giants, Goliath is in there kind of. Monstrosities, maybe not.
Monstrosity plants, I don't think either.
Plants, there is Myconid. You can always play Myconid.
Oh yeah.
Or
You have
Myconid.
the plasmid.
Plasmid is an
for
ooze.
For the ooze.
And undead, you do have
Undead, you got a
Dhampir
couple
or
Dhampir, Reborn.
Yeah. So I think it'll be interesting to find an idea for one of those that is not the existing niche.
I agree. I want to see some crazy stuff. I want to see some weird little guys.
I'm excited. I've got to figure out. Yeah, what's the move here?
I don't know. Couldn't tell you.
Well, I'm looking forward to it, regardless, one way or another. Well, yes, we'll be excited to have Tegan on, and we will be excited to share our non-humanoid playable species. Until next time, Michael, do you have something to say to the people before we say goodbye?
I do have something to say to the people before we say goodbye. This is something that I think you should try in your games. Something that I've used for years, that I've seen great success with, that I don't think is talked about enough in the TTRPG space. We talk a lot about player agency and being reactive to your players. Dan, you know me well enough. You've played at my tables before. You are currently playing in one of my games. You know that anything that you guys toss across the table to me, typically I will pick up and kind of field the ball regardless of where it goes. I am a yes and DM. However, I think we are stepping a bit away from the art form that is just letting your DM exhibit some storytelling for a little bit. So I challenge you, listeners, DMs, or players that want to be DMs, to add prologues to your sessions. This is something that I did for a long time with my home games. The first 3 to 5 minutes, it doesn't have to be a crazy long amount of time. 3 to 5 minutes is just a story that I get to tell to my players that has nothing to do with what they are about to do in the session. It is an overarching story that they learn over the course of a chapter in the story. So you have to listen to like 9 or 10 prologues to get the full scope of what's happening in that counter story somewhere else in your world. But it's a nice way to cleanse your players' palates before they jump in wherever they left off. It immediately hooks them because they're not actively trying to pay attention to anything. They're not trying to look at their character sheets. They're not looking ahead. It's not like combat where you're trying to like figure out what to do next. Your only job as a player is to listen to something that will not affect the session that you have in front of you. And I have found when I have DMs that do this, and when I have done this as a DM, it's a nice soft launch into a session that would have been like a weird place to pick up or something like that. It always gives me a good springboard into a session creatively. So I challenge you to try it. I think it's great. It's really fun to tell stories that aren't long form. You can just commit like 2 minutes and allow your players a little bit of time to just chill out and turn their brains off.
Absolutely. I cannot agree more. In fact, I would recommend, do cold opens, do scenes from other places in your world that are happening concurrently with what the party is doing. Do other scenes from the character's past that do not require or demand rolls, but just show them something that has happened sometime in the past that hasn't been touched on in game, but allows the players to see a piece of a character's history that it might not come up in session, and it might not come up in their chats around the campfire.
Yep.
But you can bring it forward to the forefront when it is thematically the most sort of like poignant and relevant. Not to harp on this too much, but I have, in a game of mine, we just had a reunion of sorts with a character and their family member that they have been searching for a very long time. And the plan to start that session from me is to explore a memory from that relationship long before the campaign starts, to sort of set the stage for what are the themes that we want to explore in this session around this relationship. And it gets everybody kind of locked in to those ideas to kind of push for some sort of resolution on those themes that you've set forward. I think it's a really great way to get the table to sort of come together and collaborate towards a sort of predetermined end, because we've all agreed that, like, okay, these are the ideas that we want to explore further in this session. How can we work together to pay those things off?
Yep.
And it's a great practice for improv in all forms. So couldn't agree more. It's a great tactic, and I support it.
Nice. Try it.
Yeah.
Try it. I promise it will pay off.
Definitely. And don't feel bad about like pre-writing stuff. Don't feel weird about that at all. Pre-write it. Like,
I pre-wrote every single one of them.
Yeah.
Pre-write it. About 10 folders full of prologue scripts.
Your players will be so delighted that you took the time to prep something for them just to sit and experience. Love that.
I would write the scripts to do it live, and then I would go back later and I would record them, like, and stitch them all together so they could have the complete story after each story arc.
That's fun.
So they could sit and listen to like the full like 15 minutes or 20 minutes of what it was that they got spoon-fed to them in 2 to 3 minute increments over the course of like a year. Yeah, so write everything down. Write it all down.
Yes.
Write down your scripts.
Yeah, definitely. All right, that's a little bonus, something to say to the people before we say goodbye today. But beyond that, we will look forward to speaking with you next time and having Tegan on to join us. Until then, listeners, Goodbye.
Goodbye.